Good evening and welcome to the Thursday, April the 11th, 2019 regular session of the Xenia City Council. We're ready to begin at this time with our call to order and an invocation led by Mr. Charlie Huff, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Will Urschel. If you would rise with me, please, for the invocation and pledge.
You bow while we pray. Father in heaven, we come to you once again, asking you for forgiveness, thanking you for this day, thanking you for loving us. Lord, we come together today to pray. I pray for the council members, all friends of mine and friends of you. As we come together in love, we know that you listen. We know that you answer. We pray for one another. Love one another. Pray without ceasing. A lot of hurting people in the world, Lord, and we need you. We need to talk to you. We need to listen to you. I pray for this city of Xenia, the council members, that each and every one of them that's doing their job of taking care of the city of hospitality, the city that's coming together, the city of love. I pray for the police that protects us, the firefighters, the hospital workers, the nursing home help. Lord, we are your people. We need one another. The servicemen protecting us. I'm glad that I'm a veteran. Proud to be an American. So good to be a Christian, and we pray. Thank you for the troops that protect us. We pray for the whole world, Lord. It's a mess, but it's okay. We need you, and we're coming to you tonight. So I lift them all up to you. Satisfied, we want you to be with us. Change us. Change our heart. Let us love. And Lord, thank you for letting us be here another day. And we come to you in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
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 Amen. Please face the flag, and I'll go ahead and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. You may be seated.
Thank you, Mr. Huff, and thank you, Councilman Urschel. May I have roll call, please?
Vice President Wallace.
Here.
Councilman Urschel.
Here.
Councilman Lauterbach.
Here.
Councilman Smith.
Here.
Councilman Dean.
Here.
Mayor Mays.
Here.
President Engel.
Here. This time we have an opportunity for approval of minutes. First set of minutes is our March 28th, 2019 regular session. A motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Lauterbach. Second, please.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Smith. Any discussion or question on this first set of minutes, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Wallace.
Abstain.
Councilman Urschel.
Abstain.
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor Mays.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. And now a motion, please, for our special session minutes from April 1st, 2019.
So moved.
Moved by the mayor. Second, please.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Lauterbach. Any discussion or question on the second set of minutes, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Wallace.
Abstain.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor Mays.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. This time we have opportunity for two special presentations this evening. The first one is a proclamation in honor of Eagle Scout Jacob Fox. If you would please come and join the mayor center stage, please.
Be it proclaimed, whereas the Boy Scouts of America is one of the nation's largest and most prominent value-based youth development organizations and provides a program for young people that builds character, trains them in the responsibilities of participating citizenship, and develops personal fitness, and whereas a Boy Scout must live by the principles of the Scout Oath and Scout Law, progress through the ranks of Tenderfoot, Second Class, First Class, Star Scout, and Life Scout, earn 21 merit badges, and be recognized by his initiative, courage, resourcefulness, and leadership to earn the rank of Eagle Scout. And whereas Jacob Fox from Troop 236, based in Kettering, Ohio, achieved the rank of Eagle Scout, a feat that is granted to only 4% of those involved in Boy Scouts, after finalizing his Eagle Scout project that included upgrading his high school band's 17-year-old trailer. And whereas the project included his solicitation of both volunteers and monetary donations in over 400 man-hours from June to August of 2018 to dismantle the trailer down to its metal frame and install all new walls, a ceiling, lights, carpeting, racks, and non-skid paint on the floor to completely refurbish and extend the life of the trailer at no cost to the school. And whereas the City of Xenia recognizes the valuable contributions of the Boy Scouts of America to our community and to our nation and wishes to recognize Jacob, who has served in the Boy Scouts for 10 years and exhibits the 12 points of Scout Law, including being trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent, and serves as an excellent example to all youth through his high level of personal achievement, leadership, and community service. And whereas Jacob should continue to strive to be a great example for younger Boy Scouts and show them that hard work, dedication, and believing in oneself can lead to great things. Now therefore, I, Sarah J. Mays, Mayor of the City of Xenia, Ohio, do hereby proclaim Thursday, April 11th, 2019, as Eagle Scout Jacob Fox Day in the City of Xenia, and ask that you join me in congratulating this young man on his outstanding accomplishments and wishing him continued success in his future endeavors. Congratulations.
Jacob, I'm not allowed to ask you questions per direction from your mom, but you are welcome to the podium if you would like to make any comments.
Okay.
You don't have to.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. I think one thing I would like to say is to thank you guys for letting me come in and just be here tonight.
Thank you.
It's great.
You're
Thank
quite
you.
welcome.
Great job.
You're very welcome.
That's great. Yes. Mr. Chairman, you mind if I say something at this point?
Go right ahead.
Jacob, so go ahead and grab a seat. You don't even stand up for this. So I mentioned Jacob for, I'm an Eagle Scout as well. And I know how hard it is to work through this whole process, especially do this project for other people and have to deal with a group of folks and meet their requirements and pull that thing off. That's not an easy thing. And so this is a great thing for today, but it's a great thing for the rest of your life as well. Because you're gonna run into other hard things. You're gonna go to college. And you're going to have hard things. You're going to be sitting there thinking, man, this is hard, and how am I going to get through this, okay? And you can look back and say, well, you know what else I did something else hard already, okay? And I was able to do that. I bet I can do this. Yeah, okay? So savor this moment, but remember this time when you get into life and you get into something else really hard and you're exhausted and you're just thinking, what do I do at this point, okay? Think back on this and say, that's okay. I worked through hard things. It took a long time and a lot of planning and a lot of work, and I bet I can do this as well. So congratulations to you. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. Our next presentation this evening is on Hamvention. Mr. Jack Gerbs, General Chairman, and Ron Kramer, Dayton Amateur Radio President.
Good evening. First, Jacob, I too am an Eagle Scout, and congratulations.
Yes.
And as the saying goes, to
Right.
echo your comments, once an Eagle, always an Eagle.
Yep.
So, congratulations. And on the opening invocation, you mentioned Xenia, the city of hospitality. Very, very fitting for what I'm about to talk about. A few years ago, we had this event called the Dayton Hamvention at Hare Arena, and Hare Arena, as you know, in 2016 closed. We needed a new home, and we looked at several different locations. We looked at actually 5 locations that could have come close to fitting what Hare Arena had. And what really brought us here was the hospitality. It was remarkable how the city, the county, the Ag Society, the township, the CBB, the sheriff's office, and so many other communities, the school district, all the community organizations seemed to come together and really want us, and that was significantly different than every other venue that we looked at. So a big thank you to everybody here and the community at large. What is ham radio? Boy, that's a really tough question. It covers so many facets of communication. The one core piece of ham radio is communication. We have old timers like myself that enjoy Morse code still. We have guys playing with tube radios. Some of us are solid or tube type guys living in a solid state world. We're getting by. Low power communications, contesting, and the big thing that we're really known for is public service.
Yeah.
In times of disaster, when 911 systems go down, when repeaters go down, very few systems are out there anymore that actually run radio to radio. They're running through big communication cell towers. And while the government, and many of the local governments are starting to get this, their own comm centers, it's still very dependent on power and communications, and ham radio operators during Puerto Rico and a lot of other natural disasters have gone in and have been the only way to get communication out. Ham radio is a very, very vast hobby with many, many different people in it, socioeconomic, it just spans the whole breadth of pretty much the world. Little history about the Hamvention. It started in 1952. The Dayton Amateur Radio Association is the sponsoring organization for the Hamvention, and in '52 they decided they wanted to put on a class show. They allowed a big budget of $100 and were able to convince the nice folks at the Biltmore to have the event there. They expected an attendance participation of about 300. They had 6 speakers and 5 vendors that came, and the attendance was 300. They knew they had something good, and they continued. They kept it at the Biltmore until 1964, at which time the Biltmore became too small to handle the event. So looking for another venue, they moved it to Hare Arena. By the mid-'70s, Hare Arena, when they moved to Hare Arena, it was only partially full. They only needed a couple rooms. But by the mid-'70s, Hamvention took over the entire venue. The entire parking lot, which is huge in the back, was filled with flea market. And if you've been there, all the buildings were full with radio vendors. Forums, participation, education. Around 2014, a few of us got together and realized that Hare Arena was in a bit of distress and we were going to need a new home. So a small group, 6 people, got together and just started checking out different venues, looking for, if something bad happens, where can we move Hamvention? We identified 5 sites and quickly whittled it down to 2 sites. And as I mentioned before, the big difference of us being here versus anywhere else was the hospitality of the community and the excitement that the Agricultural Society really had to work with us and bring our event here. the Dayton Ham Mention is run by volunteers. There are no paid employees. Insofar, I've done a lot of speaking, and some of the past chairs have, and when we go out of town to different locations, we are not compensated. This is all out of our pocket. We do what we can, and I am very grateful for Skype because I can reach out and touch more people without having to leave my house and spend my personal money. I'm doing this because I love it. Ham radio is a wonderful hobby. We talked about mentoring, and the theme for this year is mentoring the next generation, and I didn't specifically make mentoring the next generation for ham radio. Ham radio is just a way of getting people involved, and similar to the scouting program, helping young people develop skills that they'll use for life. My ham radio mentor will never know the impact he had on my life. I told him when he was alive, but I don't think he really realized the impact he had on me. And when they asked me why I volunteered to be the chair, it's because it's my time to give back. 50 years from now, as technology is changing, as you all know, we got these cell phones and all these devices, I don't know what the world's gonna look like. I don't know what ham radio is gonna be like, but in some way, shape, or form, I hope there's ham radio or something similar to it that is still getting young people involved and helping them along the way and develop their career path. A little bit about Ham Mention. We worked with the Montgomery County Chamber and the CVB, and we estimated that our economic impact to the region-wide, not just any one city or county, is about $19 million. This is a big event. In 2016, we had to move out of Hare Arena, and we didn't want to shut Ham Mention down. So a small group of us that vetted these, got a lot more people involved, and we essentially had 9 months to move Ham Mention from Hare to Greene County. It took a lot of work from a lot of people, and we're glad we did this. And I believe that we would have had a negative economic impact had Ham Mention. I also believe in giving back to the community. So as part of that, I personally wanted to see this survive for the community at large. We have 30,000 attendees, and last year we had attendees from over, well, it was right at 64 different countries. So it is an international event. I am currently working on a 5-year contract with the Agricultural Society. We have it printed, we're going back and forth, and in principle, we don't want to move. This was a tremendous effort by a lot of people. We don't want to move, we like it here. We know when we moved here, we were creating a disruption for the city. We knew we would not have some fans, well, the whole region. Some fans, some people would be worried about what are we going to do. We worked really hard to be good citizens. We got the band boosters involved to help us with parking, and we're compensating them. We've got some scout organizations involved. We've got Lions Club involved. We've got a lot of different community organizations involved, and we're giving back. When we moved here and we spoke to the local officials that we worked with, we really they didn't believe us, but we told them we want this to be a win-win-win, everybody that is involved with it. There's no losers. And again, I know there was some disruption along the way, and we had some challenges. We had a timeline that was incredible and an incredible amount of work. And this year we're doing something just a little different. We got the 5-year agreement going, and the fee for Ham Mention is $22 for the weekend. If you order in advance, $27 at the door. This year, and we have not had our release go out yet, so you're the first to hear this publicly. We are opening the doors to the public on Sunday. So anybody that's interested in what we're doing and want to come out and see what we're doing, what we're about, you're welcome to come out. Maybe you'll get interested in the hobby, who knows. So again, a big, big thank you to the city and the entire community at large. And your comment about the city of hospitality, I couldn't agree more. I don't know if it's proper to take questions, or am I just done?
Certainly, sir. Any questions from my colleagues,
Concerns?
please? Councilman?
Just a comment, we're glad you're in Xenia. And I was hoping you had 2 announcements tonight, but you're negotiating on the
We're
other.
working on the contract.
Yeah, so, but.
In principle, we've met, so I don't.
Yeah, and it would be.
It feels really good.
It would be a 5-year contract.
Yes, it's a
It
5-year
comes to
agreement that we're
fruition,
working on.
but,
We don't want to move. We like
yeah,
it here.
yeah. Well, we're glad to have you. You know, 30,000 visitors means a lot to the Xenia economy. If I was a restaurant owner, I'd be out passing out coupons like, you know,
Right.
10% off this and that.
That's perfect. And again, as Xenia develops, I'm sure it's going to just be better for everybody, the win-win. People like to go out to eat where they stay, and you've got some nice places to stay, and you're continuing to grow, and I look forward to
We have
working
the
with you on this.
we have the New Hampton Inn. I think you told me once what percent of food tents are at the fairgrounds.
I'm going to defer that to Mr. Kramer, who led the charge as general chair to move the event from Hare Arena to.
What was the question?
How many food vendors? It was a lot.
25 the first year, and we added, we're about up to 30 now.
Okay.
Ron is the man responsible. I was the assistant chair, but he was the chair, and the buck stopped with him when it came to making the decision on the logistics of getting this.
My
moved.
point being, they don't, not everybody eats at the food tents at the fair.
Correct.
They travel in the.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And with 30,000 people, that's at our event, there's still spouses that come. When we came up with the economic impact number, all the venues around town, entertainment.
And they like to shop also.
Yes.
Thank you.
So
Thank
do
you.
you have the opportunity to get your license there at the event?
Yes. And this Saturday, there's a test set. The test is, if you see me afterwards, it's not difficult to get started. There's 3 levels of tests.
Right.
There's a test session this Saturday, next Saturday, and you have an opportunity to get licensed there. I got licensed back in '74. I'm one of the old timers.
Well, my 60-year-old sister, who's a veterinarian, took her test last year.
Awesome.
And got her license, and she's shaming me because she said, "You're you technologists from the Air Force after 34 years." I don't have one. So.
And you are in the backyard
Yeah,
with him.
and she never comes and visits me either. And she said, "I am coming down." And I said, "Are you going to see me?" She says, "No, I'm coming to Hamden." And she said, "If you want to see me, you're going to have to come out to the fairgrounds." So I'm coming, and I'm going to take my test there too. So we'll see what I can get. But anyways,
See you later.
I'm amazed at the breadth of folks that are involved with this, and that, like you said, it's not hard to get started. And you can get started with the basic, license and just have an awful lot of fun with that. So kudos to you guys.
Thank you. And your sheriff is also one of us now.
Sure.
The only thing I would hope is that the weather is more cooperative this year than last.
From your mouth to
We'll have to
God's
pray for the good weather.
Thank you. Good
Any other
weather.
comments?
Well, I'll just add, in the 80s, I worked for McDonald's on Main Street by Hare
Oh.
Arena.
Oh.
And every year, we would prep
Fancy.
tons of effort because of the impact that we got from Hamvention. It was just phenomenal. So, again, speaking for the rest of the council, we can't thank you enough. I
Yeah.
think it's a great opportunity for our community, and we appreciate you guys.
Great.
You might have mentioned this, the dates are May 17th.
18th and 19th.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's 34 days, 35 days.
Okay.
And I don't know how many hours, but it's getting there.
Any other comments? Sir, thank you very much. And we do
Pleasure.
so greatly appreciate you coming and speaking this evening, and for Hamvention locating here in our community.
My pleasure.
Thank you. This time, we have an opportunity for audience comments. Anyone wishing to come and address the Xenia City Council, please feel free to do so. Step to the podium, provide us your name and address. Limit your comments 4 to 5 minutes, please.
Thank you very much. John Kopp, 936 Orville Way. First off, I'd like to congratulate Jacob on his Eagle Scout award. The Scouts in America are being destroyed by some people in America, so we need more people involved like Jacob to continue the tradition of the Scouts. And I know his mom and dad both volunteer in the community, and volunteer at the schools and stuff, so he's got some good role models there. We need more volunteers in the city for everything, so. Looked at the couple things tonight I want to address. In your special session minutes on page 5, you talked about a new position, or not a new position, but a position within the city for a parks worker, and you were having trouble filling that position. And, when I'm reading this, it frustrates me that, we're having trouble filling the position. It pays $16.93 an hour, $35,000 a year, and we can't fill this position. And, people on the civil service list aren't interested in the position. So our staff's solution to this problem, according to the minutes here, is let's throw some more money at it. And that's frustrating to me that when government's solution to everything is let's throw more money at the position. I mean, my suggestion would be, having served on the Civil Service Commission for 8 years, you know, possibly maybe we need to change how we're going about testing for that position. You know, are we testing for a maintenance worker position? Are we testing for a laborer's position? You know, you know, if that's why people don't want the job because it's a laborer's position and they're on a maintenance job list, then maybe we need to rethink how we go about testing for that position. My other solution, why don't we make a management decision, and the last 3 guys that are hired into the maintenance department, and along with this gentleman, they go on a rotation and they work, you know, 1 weekend a month. And the weekend, the month, or the week they work the weekend, they don't work Monday or Tuesday. I mean, it's a management decision. I mean, then they're only working 1 weekend a month. But to just throw more money at it, I put a post on Facebook, and literally within 36 hours, I had 6 people contact me through Messenger, asking me about the position. I don't work for the city, but they're interested in the job, not complaining about the hours, not complaining about $35,000 a year plus rating in the winter. There's people interested in this position, but they don't know about it. We've got a human resources director making $91,000 a year. What's she doing to promote these positions? I mean, because literally 36 hours, I had 6 people contact me, and I don't work for the city. So I would go back to council, go back to staff, and say, we need to rethink this. But throwing more money at it is not the answer. You also are going to be voting tonight on the pay increases or the pay grade increases for all the non-union employees. I spoke about this at the last meeting. Our revenues are down in the city. We are not growing where we need to be growing with our tax base. This finance director wants to compare us to other municipalities. It's tough to compare us to other municipalities because other municipalities have more tax revenue coming in. They're meeting their infrastructure needs. They're paving their roads, and we are not. You can't compare Xenia to other communities that don't have the tax revenue issues that we have. So stop comparing us to other communities. We have to be Xenia and make decisions for Xenia. Council President mentioned, he said numbers don't lie. You're right, numbers don't lie, Council President. According to the figures our city finance director has given us, CPI is 1.9%. But yet our wages are growing at 4% in the city. Our wages are growing more than CPI. We need 5% tax growth in order to hit our reserves by the end of the year. Right now, we're not going to hit that reserve number that we should have in reserves at the end of the year because our projections aren't going to hit 5%. But yet you're going to consider increasing the wages of non-union tonight in 19, 20, and 21. Now, staff will say, well, we don't have to increase anybody's wages, you know, but it's increasing the pay categories. And we have finance clerks making over $60,000 a year, a receptionist at $48,000, secretaries at $54,000. I mean, our non-union wages are extremely competitive, but yet we're going to try to increase them tonight. Wright State University is having major financial problems. Their non-union employees have had no raises in 3 years. They're paying more for their premium on their health insurance than they had their HSA contribution reduced. We haven't done any of that. But yet we're going to vote tonight to increase non-union wages. When I got on council in 2009, there was a pay freeze. My suggestion would be, instead of increasing these non-union wages tonight, go with a pay freeze for 19, 20, and 21, and then reconsider it in 22. Because right now the projections aren't good. And when we can't meet the needs of the citizens with infrastructure needs, then we shouldn't be increasing these wages. Thank you very much.
Would anyone else care to come and address the city of Xenia this evening, please?
Good evening, everyone. Matt Johnson, 563 Jody Drive. I'm going to sound like a broken record here, and I'm going to back up Mr. Kopp on exactly what he said. The revenue base for Xenia is poor, very poor. There's no new revenue coming into the city. There's no new developments in this city in regards to housing. The only housing development that currently is going to be finished is Ryan Homes. Is Ryan Homes begging Xenia to build more homes here? Are they asking for more infrastructure to be put inside of cornfields to put more people in homes between here and Central State? No. Inverness is not doing the same. None of these builders around here are coming to Xenia because there's no revenue. The school system, people won't approve new high school and middle school. We all know that. In November, the administration was told, and so was council, that we don't want to be taxed more for the roads. Work with what you got. Quit kicking the can down the road and do what you need to do to take care of the potholes in the roads. I understand from your special session and from tonight's meeting that things are going to take place on Church Street. Ford Road's going to out the wastewater treatment plant's going to be taken care of. Those things. But the only thing you guys are paving is 2nd Street. We're a quarter of the way through the year of the 2019, and at no point in time have you guys come out to the community that I know of since November in the levy failing, telling us what you guys are going to do to fix the problem. You come to the meeting back, I believe, on the 28th of February, or whenever this was first proposed by Mr. Smith, Councilman Smith. And all you guys want to do is possibly give more money to step increases that people can either earn or they don't get because of merit raises. And I understand that. But you're just throwing more and more money out there. And I understand the 7 bargaining units more or less control the city's budget. I understand that because they're union workers. And I'm a union worker myself. I understand how all that works. But for you guys to adopt just in March of 18 a 2% raise to cover the 1.9% for your study in 17 and 18, and then to come back 19, 20, and 21 and give raises of 6.75% over those 3 years, possibly give those raises, you're just throwing more and more money away and giving those people more incentive. But there's no incentive for people really to come here because you probably do have a lot of good candidates through your civil service process of testing for jobs, but maybe we need to get rid of that. Maybe these people that Mr. Kopp is saying that contacted him do have some past things in their past that might make them not eligible to take part in the civil service test for the city of Xenia. Maybe we just need to get away from civil service testing. I just heard the Hamvention guys say, wow, $17 an hour to work, Wednesday through Sunday. That's pretty good money. But I understand the very last thing that's said in that is it's pretty dirty. It's pretty nasty. But at the same time, you just can't put a guy in there at 17 or a woman in there at $17 an hour and expect that person to deal with all those things and then have little girls in the corner crying because their birthday party's a half hour late because you guys are trying to get stuff transitioned. Maybe the civil service thing is not the way to go anymore. Maybe you guys need to look at that in regards to further future business. Your special session. There's nothing in your special session in discussions about roads or potholes. You guys say you're not on Facebook. I know some of you are. I know Mr. Kopp is. We all know that. Hickory's on there. I'm on there. Fact of the matter is, they want to know what you're going to do with all these potholes. And you guys have had no special meetings in regards to pothole road maintenance or that thing or any of that. You put, I think, maybe $2,400 or $4,200 in cold patch. Cold patch doesn't stay in potholes. So what are we going to do? Just fill them in with soil and plants and just make city look beautiful? There's craters up here on this side of town, on the west end, east-west side of town, southeast side of town, and I almost lost a tire last week. I know those people are frustrated. Everyone knows about Colorado. It's just you guys want to keep on giving raises, but have you asked for concessions or any other type of pay freezes from your unions? Have you asked for any kind of help from your non-union classified employees that, we can't go for it right now. We need to figure out what we're going to do with these roads. So just expressing my concerns. It's out there on Facebook. It's pretty sad that no one shows up to voice their opinion besides a few of us, but I do appreciate everything you guys do. I know it's a hard job, and I know there's not much money there, We just talked with Mr. Duke recently about a month or two ago, and the rainy day fund's about 3.5 million, I do believe. So there's no money. So I hope you guys do not pass this wage increase tonight. Thank you.
Anyone else care to come and address the city of Xenia this evening, please? Seeing no one else come forward, we will move on to old business. Item under old business is Resolution 2019-G, a second reading, amending Appendix 2 of the Employees Benefits Manual non-union wage ranges of 2020 and 2021, originally introduced by Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move for passage.
Move for passage. Second, please. I'll second. Discussion, please.
So, and Ryan, I'm going to apologize because I didn't have an opportunity to talk this over with you before tonight, and I don't feel good about springing things on the city folks before this. But so the proposal has a raising of the minimum, the mid, and the upper levels with that, right?
Yes, so the
correct?
actual pay range itself is
Right.
is changing.
Right. So, but it's also it's the base of the range as well as the potential merit approval at the higher end. I get the mid
Correct.
is
Both the bottom and the top of the range moves off. Obviously, then the midpoint moves as well.
Right. And so, and then Brent, and once again, I apologize because I didn't have a chance to talk this over with you ahead of time. I understand the context of allowing the upper end of the range from a merit perspective. And obviously, there's a lot of employees who aren't at that range, so this really is not an impact to them at this particular time. But what I'm struggling with is raising the bottom end of the range. And is there a requirement? And once again, I'm new to council here, so and the whole personnel structure. Is there a requirement that when you hire an employee, that you have to bring them in at that minimum number? Is that a negotiable number as you bring an employee in?
So we set a standard on the lower end just to establish a range. I mean, it's a typical practice within governmental entities. And historically, there's been different philosophies in terms of when we hire. Do we hire at the low end and progress them quickly? Do we hire in the middle and progress them more slowly? So it's just varied based on the appointing authorities, historically.
Right. Okay.
The rationale, I think, here for increasing the lower end, and at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know that we're hung up on this necessarily, but when you compare where the city of Xenia is, both in the low end and the high end of the ranges for these non-union positions, we are regionally among the lowest for most of our positions, usually within the lower three. Now, there's a few that we might be a little higher, a little more competitive. On the whole, however, both the low end, the starting range, as well as the high end, we tend to be less competitive. The problem with the low end is that if we have a position that we're applying for and we publish the range, the quality of candidates that you get when they see that low end, not knowing where they'll come in, it can be impacted. If they see that on the low end that the potential starting wage is substantially under what other employers are offering, that impacts your ability to market the position successfully.
But you are not bound to have to, if you believe you have a candidate and you need to offer more within the context, that you're not bound at that lower number.
So based on our compensation policies, you would be at the low end.
Yes, so according to the compensation, the language, you would have to bring them in at a minimum at the minimum of the range. You couldn't bring somebody in beneath that range.
I understand not below, but as you bring them in and as you have your range, right, for each of your grades, right, are you bound with the initial offer? Is that based upon looking at experience and those types of things, and can you offer more than the minimum, or is that a practice?
You can, and sometimes what we'll do is, there'll be an initial offering, and at the end of your probationary period, we might bump you up, a % or 2, depending on what the circumstances are.
Right.
Where you bring people in, oftentimes, it really, the experience you bring in, the credentialing you bring in, weighs pretty heavily with these types of positions, because these are a lot of professional positions. And so if you come in with advanced degrees, if you come in with 2, 5, 10 years of experience, that will weigh into the determination of what that initial offer is. And then, of course, right now it's marketplace. You know, as you have a candidate that you're courting that you want to bring in,
Right.
They probably have a dollar amount in their mind that they think that they're worth based on the marketplace, and so there's typically some negotiation there.
Yeah. So the reason I'm asking these questions is, I understand the context of raising the upper end to give you an ability to do merit, and and what percentage of our employees might be coming to that point within their steps this year, or are at that right now?
At the top end,
Right.
There's 9 people at the top. So that's probably 25% of the non-union employees.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably actually a little less than that. So,
Okay.
yeah, when you include court, yeah, probably more like 15.
I think, Councilman, if your hesitation is increasing the lower end, I'm not sure that if you wanted to amend that, I'm not sure that we would necessarily be heartbroken about that.
Right, right.
You know, because we always have the flexibility based on qualifications to bring someone in above that lower end.
Right.
And that's done from time to time depending on the circumstances of the candidate.
Right. So, and so to my fellow council members, once again, I apologize, I wasn't here at the last meeting and the discussions of that, but I would like to offer an amendment to this, and if I get Robert's rules correct, is this the right time to do that?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Right, that we amend that to keep the current base numbers.
The minimum.
The minimum numbers, and that we modify the numbers to the number you proposed for the upper end. And obviously you have to recompute your mid-range, because that'll be a different set of numbers that we've received in the current modification here.
Sure.
Right? So, having said that, I don't know if I stated that correctly, but my intent would be that we leave the baseline where the baseline is at. And once again, still give you the flexibility to hire at that level, versus what I'm concerned about is with the raising of the whole base of all the positions, you no longer have the flexibility, even if you have someone who's willing to come, you don't have the flexibility to offer a position at that point. And there might be people more than willing to work at that rate. And I guess I'm assuming there are some folks who are currently working at that base. And this is an automatic pay raise for them because they can't be paid less than that. Is that correct? If we approve this?
Yeah,
With
I'm
this group
not.
of employees, there may not be.
Yeah, I'm not
at the
sure
lowest.
where some of the court employees are as far as in the range. My guess is there aren't a ton
Sure.
of people, but generally, I mean, the increase wouldn't be automatic, but the supervisor still, based on performance, has the ability to give the increase if they feel like it's merited. So
Right.
I don't think that that's necessarily a problem. I don't think we have anybody at the bottom who wasn't going to get an increase because of performance, but would have because of the change in range.
Right, yeah. So I'd like to offer an amendment that we maintain the base as is, and that we increase the upper range per your proposal, and that the mid-range is recomputed
Corresponding.
based upon that, right?
So I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second that.
Seconded by the mayor. Discussion on the amendment to the original motion, please.
Since we're talking about leaving the beginning range where it is, I want to know how that compares with the union employees and how much less the non-union folks are making compared to the union folks.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily an apples to apples comparison. Obviously, all of the ranges for the unions were adjusted when they got their annual increase. Those increases varied, according to the contract. Some, 2%, some 2.5%. So it just depends on the union. But each employee in the union is set at specific steps. So if you're in step A, obviously that change is going to impact you. Whereas in non-union, an employee can be placed anywhere between the bottom and the top, and so it's tough to say, from a comparison standpoint, how exactly that impacts it, because with unions, each range, whether it's range 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, each one of those is impacted by that percentage. And at their anniversary date, they typically move to the next range, assuming a satisfactory valuation. So with non-union, there's not a specific slot that you're placed in, if that makes sense.
But there is a difference between what the union staff get and the non-union staff get, and I'm trying to ascertain what that figure looks like. And I know it is not an apples to apples comparison, but on the other hand, those people who are at the lower end of the totem pole and are non-union are going to, if this motion passes, they're going to remain at the lower end of the totem
It
pole.
would really more affect anyone who's
employees.
being, hired new. So where we would start them, so the threshold from where we would start them would remain lower. And again, depending on qualifications, there's some
What could
flexibility.
possibly remain lower based upon
Qualifications
their
and-
expectations, what they're
yep.
willing to take, right? But the lower, the range of what you could offer could be lower, right?
So I think addressing your point, Councilman, I think I hear your concern. I don't think this change would affect that. It's worth noting that our non-union employees over the last probably 10 years, I don't know, Ryan, you probably know the numbers off the top of your head better than I do, but our unions, because of the structure in the state of Ohio, all of our union employees have seen considerably more advancement in their ranges
Exactly.
as opposed or as compared to our non-union, simply because it's state mandated. And we haven't done, because we haven't had to, we haven't done as many increases, particularly over the recession period with the non-union.
Councilman?
I'm glad you brought that point. In my years on council, you know, the IAFF and the teachers union, the strongest unions in the country, used to be the UAW and the steelworkers. 85% of our budget is wages and benefits. 85% of our employees are unionized.
Yeah.
Over my time on council, non-union has always got the blunt end of the deal.
Short end of the stick.
And I've got a union background, but I feel for both union and non-union. And how do you solve that? It's contract negotiations. I mean, how do you solve this problem? I don't have an answer how you solve it, but I do know the history that a union has had many more increases than non-union.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. I don't know exactly the percentage, but it's a pretty stark difference. And there was referenced, several years where there were pay freezes for non-union employees. And what I will say is what that got us was another union, because a lot of the employees who were clerical, for example, finance clerks, some secretaries, when they went through long periods of time without increases and saw the unions getting increases, they ended up unionizing. And so one of the repercussions of those pay freezes for non-union and an inequity between the two groups resulted in more unionization of the non-union employees.
Very good point.
And Councilman, I might add to it, your excellent point. In general, we also, with dealing with 2 of our 3 union groups, what the general public may not be aware of is, should we not be able to reach consensus with 2 of those 3 groups, we go to arbitration at that point in time, binding arbitration, which generally has resulted in negative consequences for the city budget.
So, just to clarify, the amendment that you have proposed does not change the potential for any pay raises.
That's correct.
The potential of what somebody can, it simply is just, as we look at new hires, keeping the baseline.
Right.
It does not change the language that they can still earn the raises that we have talked about. That is all still in here.
Correct, and I think just to get, as well, to give us the flexibility to take existing employees and do merit-based on the upper end. I believe we also need to have the flexibility, because I think, I get it, there are folks that come and say, hey, I could, get a better paying job someplace else. We also have folks that say, wow, that looks really good. And I'll second John's motion. I've got 4 young men that are just waiting for us to declare when the next civil service exam is. And I'm getting them all in here to take that exam for that position. They don't need a dime more than what the baseline position is. And I get that's not true for all positions, but I once again, I don't want us to see us tie our hands so we can't offer that lower range if we have folks that are willing to accept jobs at those lower ranges.
If it's probably worth saying, I won't speak for Ryan, from my perspective, I don't have any concerns with the amendment. We still have the flexibility to respond based on the market and the quality of the candidates that we get. So if we could save more on hiring, great. When we're bringing new folks in, great. If we have to be more competitive, then we still have the flexibility to do that.
Right.
But you do have, but you do have, because of the way the amendment is worded, you do have the option a year later, 18 months later, to bring them up because you're gonna have the.
And again, typically with these types of employees, when they're hired in their offer letter, will during a probationary period, they'll be at a certain amount, and after that probationary period, they're eligible for an increase with a satisfactory probation period. Probation period typically 6 months to a year.
Any other discussion or question? Okay, we're now voting on the amendment to the original motion. An aye vote will enact the amendment and leave the baseline salary in our non-union wages as is. A no vote will nullify the amendment as proposed.
And then we would go back to the original proposed amendment.
Correct. Roll call, please.
Vice President Wallace,
Reluctantly, aye.
Councilman Urschel,
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach,
Aye.
Councilman Smith,
Aye.
Councilman Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Mays,
Aye.
President Engel.
I will go with Councilman, or with the Vice President, reluctantly aye.
Motion carried.
Now, motion please, or excuse me, now any further discussion on the original amendment? Or the,
As
on the
amended.
original, any discussion on the amended motion?
Do we have a motion on it already?
Yes.
Yes.
Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Wallace,
Aye.
Councilman Urschel,
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach,
Aye.
Councilman Smith,
Aye.
Councilman Dean,
No.
Mayor Mays,
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. We have no public hearings scheduled this evening, so we'll move to new business. First item under new business is ordinance 2019-07, an emergency, enacting chapter 269 titled General Provisions of the City's Boards, Commissions, and Committees Code and declaring an emergency. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, sir. Staff is recommending City Council take action to address a legislative deficiency that creates an impediment to the functioning of several of the city's boards and commissions. 3 of the standing boards and commissions, which includes the Planning and Zoning Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals, and the Civil Service Commission, were created specifically through the city's charter. The charter sets forth that each of these bodies would be constituted by 5 residents from the city of Xenia. Further, the charter requires that for any action of these bodies, whether to approve or disapprove that particular action, that a majority, 3 of the 5, are required to vote in accord to arrive at a decision, again, either approving or disapproving of the requested action. Any tally short of 3 members voting one way or another renders the body incapable of making or completing its charter responsibilities. We've historically and certainly in recent times experienced situations in which members abstained on a decision, leaving only 3 members of the voting board for a particular measure. In other cases, board or commission vacancies have created a problem, and this is made even worse when we have intermittent absences from otherwise active members of these boards and commissions. The core problem is that due to the charter required vote threshold, anything short of 3 concurring votes, either for or against, prevents the body from taking the definitive action that they're charged with taking. Such circumstances do a tremendous disservice to our residents who are seeking action from the board or commission and they can't get a definitive resolution to their request. The legislation presented to you tonight is intended to address this problematic circumstance. If approved as written, ordinance 2019-07 would automatically refer to City Council for a final definitive action. Any matter before these boards or commissions that, for whatever reason, a definitive vote outcome could not be reached. To be clear, this change does not supersede the board or commission's responsibilities as enunciated in the charter. Rather, it provides for a definitive outcome measure when the board or commission cannot otherwise come to an answer for the applicant. The ordinance enacts Chapter 269, within which the law director has also recommended inclusion of some additional housekeeping items intended to address some other structural issues or deficiencies that were not delineated in the charter when these were created. That includes, let's see here, 269.02, which reminds all board and commission members they are required to take an oath of office. 269.03, which by which the council would authorize the chairs of these boards and commissions to set their particular meeting dates and times, if not otherwise instructed by council. and 269.04, which states that in the absence of rules of order prescribed specifically by council, the boards and commissions are to follow Robert's rules, which is a pretty standard practice among governing entities. Additionally, the legislation prohibits elected officials and city employees from serving on a board or commission unless otherwise authorized. For example, if a council member is serving as the chair of a board or commission as prescribed by charter. Our charter and ordinances are silent on this matter presently, but we feel it makes the most sense to prohibit city employees and officials from serving on other boards or commissions at this time, as doing so would really create an even greater issue with the abstaining from some of these issues and those challenges we currently face. So we would recommend this particular issue be forwarded to the charter review at a future date for consideration on how they think it should be addressed in the charter. So in summary, staff is recommending council approve the measure as an emergency, as we have recently encountered concerns regarding this inaction issue, and by expediting this stopgap measure, we're ensuring any citizen seeking a board or commission action can get a speedy, definitive resolution to their issue. There's no harm, no foul if council wishes to just introduce this evening. We just felt, because we've seen some recent incidences and we do have some vacancies on boards and commissions, that taking this action by emergency would, again, help expedite a stopgap. And of course, we did have some preliminary discussion on this matter in fact, extensive preliminary discussion at the special session. So with that, if you have any questions, we can answer them.
First, a motion, please, as an emergency for this ordinance.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Latterback. Second, please.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Dean. Any discussion or
I
question?
do have one question, and that is, if one of these boards or commissions that is chaired by a member of council, and of course the council is not voting or does not vote, if there were a tie or whatever, couldn't we just as easily have the council, the chair, council member vote? But that's the same thing that's gonna come to council, so he's gonna vote then. So
Right.
no, I'd leave it like it is.
Yeah, and we had some of that discussion last time that you weren't privy to, but we looked at a number of these circumstances, and I know there was some concern among the council that the council did not want to supersede the responsibilities of these groups. But again, in this particular case, an applicant can come to a zoning, a planning and zoning commission, and if there aren't sufficient votes, they're not getting an answer one way or the other. So this measure would allow that issue to then automatically be referred to council, where then by the authorities prescribed in charter, you would go ahead and take action on it.
Right. So Brandon, the way I understand this is a special circumstance, Edgar, where if we might have either folks who are absent or abstaining, and even if you had another meeting, they would continue to abstain because of interest that they had.
Right.
That even if you had the chair vote, you would not have the minimum number of votes for a majority at that point. That could potentially happen, and so you would never be able to move forward in that
It's
context.
gonna tap council regardless, that's what the.
Yeah. Again, intended to provide the full service to the resident or the applicant, because right now they would otherwise not get a definitive answer on some of these issues.
Any other discussion or question on the motion, please?
So, to be clear, if we pass this tonight, when does it go into effect?
The first effective date allowable by law, which technically would be tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Walz?
Aye.
Councilman Urschel?
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach?
Aye.
Councilman Smith?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
President Engel?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next ordinance is, next item is ordinance 2019-08, also an emergency, amending sections 298.01A of the city's fee schedule as contained in a codified ordinance of the city of Xenia, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, sir. The ordinance as presented this evening is recommended to address some operational concerns primarily at two of the city's premier park locations. The city's for many years accommodated reservations for spaces in city parks, specifically today, at this current time, for the pavilion at Shawnee Park, as well as the open-air shelter at Xenia Station. Historically, these reservations have been made for both city and non-city residents at various rates. Presently, these are the only spaces in our parks for which we exercise a reservation system. All their shelters are first come, first served at no cost to their users. I remind council that with the staffing reductions we made in 2010, one of our, at the time, two parks positions, along with 10 other administrative positions, were eliminated to cut cost, and these positions were never reinstated. So we've been operating as a result since then with only one full-time parks worker to provide maintenance at the city's 14 parks. Some mowing and landscaping assistance is provided through our summer help, but all the core maintenance at our parks is provided by just that one employee who works a modified schedule to ensure at least some degree of parks maintenance coverage at peak usage and specifically on weekends. The majority of our effort is focused on Shawnee Park and Xenia Station due to their high degree of utilization and the limited staff capacity that we have. Is with the recent opening for our parks labor position that we have been unable to fill until recently, that has forced our staff to take a closer look at our approach to parks maintenance and, among other things, our policies on reservation and space usage. Due to staffing limitations for the maintenance of our city parks, and specifically with this reservation and the process we do go through to clean up when we have these special reserved events, the staff is challenged to be able to provide the necessary cleaning and turnover with the current schedule that we have. So we're recommending that some of the hours be for the reservation be adjusted as detailed in the agenda report. What this would do is essentially would allow for a morning rental session and then an afternoon rental session with a dedicated time in between that would allow us to come in and provide for the necessary cleanup. Combined day-long rental would still be available at a different price point as indicated. However, under the new policy, we would no longer have staff available after 4 p.m. For assistance or immediate cleanup, and this is where we've really struggled. We've incurred a lot of overtime because of the current structure. Individuals can rent the pavilion later in the evening, while our 8-hour per day staff member is only working till 4 p.m. So in order to make adjustments to their schedule, they're extending their day, and so we're getting automatic minimums of 3 hours of overtime to provide the services. In some cases, it's just to take care of the trash. So this is a step that we think is necessary to reduce some of that overtime expenditure. The ordinance change will also accommodate a slight fee increase, which we haven't done with this in a number of years, which is intended to offset the added cost for the additional services necessary for the reservation convenience. We're recommending this ordinance be approved this evening as an emergency solely because we're already in the season, and if we go through the normal process, it'd be another 45 to 60 days before this will take effect, and to make the change in the middle of the season, we think that's unwise. So we have discontinued any reservations this month until we saw where council wanted to go with this. If council approves this as an emergency tonight, then we would reopen that reservation system under the new standard for the remainder of this year. So I think with that, that's it.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion, please, as an emergency for this ordinance?
Move as an emergency.
Moved by the Vice President. Second, please.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Smith. Discussion or question on this motion, please. Councilman?
Just, maybe you went through this, maybe I went over my head. Is this, the rentals, are they for Xenia residents only, or can Jamestown, Cedarville, anybody rent?
We do allow rentals for non-residents. It's at a different price point. So a non-resident pays a little higher price point than the Xenia resident. And again, those reservations are done on a first come, first served basis. And believe it or not, typically, we get calls very early in the season if you've got a family reunion or a wedding, something like that. This is a very extremely low cost option for space. Mm-hmm. So for those larger events, we'll start getting calls, in the wintertime that folks want to start making reservations. And so obviously anything that we currently have on the books will honor under the old system. In terms of the rental fee, but moving forward from this point is where we'd make the adjustment. But yes, to your core question, there are different price points from a resident and a non-resident.
Thank you.
Any other discussion or question, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Wallace?
Aye.
Councilman Urschel?
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach?
Aye.
Councilman Smith?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
President Engel?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next item is Resolution 2019-H, an emergency, authorizing the city manager to execute agreements with the Greene County Engineers Office and the John R. Jurgensen Company to complete the city's 2019 City Street Program and declaring an emergency. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, sir. Staff is recommending passage of the resolution, this item also as an emergency tonight, which would allow us to move forward with the plans for our 2019 street rehab program. These are improvements being recommended in addition to the Second Street rehab project. The City of Xenia partners with other municipalities in the county through the Greene County Engineers Office each year to complete our annual street program, and we do this as our combined buying power provides an economy of scale value that really allows us to get better bid results. This resolution presented this evening would authorize the execution of the standard agreement with the county engineer for participation in the 2009 bidding and awarding process, and also authorizes the actual award of the contract to John R. Jurgensen Company, who was determined to be the lowest and best bidder by the county engineer. The county engineer received bids from 2 qualified paving contractors to complete the street resurfacing for the participating jurisdictions in Greene County. The bid tabulation received from the engineer's office was included in the agenda report, and the city's portion of that, totaling $310,427.61, is noted on page 3. This year's program includes the reconstruction of Montana Drive and a portion of driveway throughout the Ford Road wastewater treatment plant, along with sporadic concrete repairs. It's important to note that there's a difference in the funding sources being utilized for those. The sewer portion obviously coming out of a sewer capital budget. As is typical in any case year to year with the Greene County Engineers program, they do require us to execute all documents within a pretty tight timeline. And in order for us to move forward, participation is necessary and is an emergency. In other words, we get this very late. The engineer doesn't give us sufficient time to be able to do a normal resolution because we require the 2 readings. So that's the purpose of the emergency tonight. So again, just to be clear, this is additional work above and beyond the significant expenditure on 2nd Street. Taking care of Montana, that was a priority that council had because of the utility work that we did in replacing water lines up there last year. Montana is in extraordinarily bad shape. So this it's a pretty long road, and this will reconstruct that road curb to curb. And we also have a couple of smaller projects in here. One of note, we have some drainage issues that have resulted in some damage in the intersection in front of the hospital over on Wilson, and so this would correct that problem as well. So again, just looking big picture, it's in addition to 2nd Street, so we appreciate the opportunity to be able to participate with the county engineer. Just want to give Bob credit. He's been great in leading this effort and has saved a lot of our communities a lot of money over the years by conducting this program, so we appreciate all of his efforts over the years.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please, as an emergency?
So moved as an emergency.
Second.
By Councilman Latterback and seconded by the Vice President. Any discussion or question on this motion, please?
Just a curiosity question. Wilson Drive, that's bad in front of the house. What was the result of a water main break or what?
There's a drainage issue, and so the engineer isn't here with us tonight, but essentially there is with any substantive rain event, we're getting a lot of pooling of water and ponding there, particularly in your colder weather months when you get through the freeze-thaw cycle. It's that excess water has done a lot of damage. So they're going to work on some drainage with this and do some resurfacing just in that short block right there in front of the hospital, which again, given the amount of traffic that we have that comes in and out of there, emergency traffic and vehicular traffic for not only the hospital but for the health department as well, this will provide a longer-term solution for that.
It's much needed. Yeah. Thank you.
And heavier traffic with the ambulances and so forth. Yeah.
Any other discussion or question on the motion, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Wallace?
Aye.
Councilman Urschel?
Aye.
Councilman Latterback?
Aye.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
President Engel?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next item is Resolution 2019-I, seeking an introduction, providing for assessments to be levied and authorizing the Finance Director to certify those assessments to the Greene County Auditor. Mr. Finance Director.
Thank you, Council President. Each year, staff comes to council requesting authorization to assess various unpaid fees for things like weed mowing, utility bills, et cetera. We typically do that 3 times per year. This is the first time that we're requesting the authorization to make assessments. This year in 2019, probably we'll have another one coming July, August timeframe, and another one in the fall. We are requesting that council authorize the assessment for weed mowing in the amount of $46,779.27, for trees and shrubs for an amount $1,614.02, for trash cleanup totaling $5,235, and for utilities $76,574.70. As always, if a customer were to pay that bill between council's approval and the actual assessing to the county will remove that before the assessment's made to the property.
Thank you. Can I have an introduction from one of my colleagues, please?
So introduced.
Introduced by the Vice President. Thank you. Next item is an administrative motion reappointing 2 members to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Mayor Mays, please.
Thank you, sir. We have 2 of our board members that are up for, their term is coming to an end. Our current BZA Vice Chair, Ms. McDuff, and we are also looking to reappoint Mr. Rick Hilliard. Both of them, their terms expire today, actually, 2019, and I'd like to make a motion to reappoint them for another 4 years, and that would expire April 11th, 2023. So that is my motion.
Thank you. Is there a second, please?
A second.
Seconded by Councilman Smith. Any discussion or question on that motion, please?
I just want to publicly thank anyone who's willing to serve on our board. Weather's nice, summertime, you get involved in your daily activities, 5:30, and you're quitting to come to a meeting, which is, it's nice people are volunteering their time, serve on boards, and I've sat down and chaired meetings where we haven't had a quorum because just people are busy, they just can't make it. So I really appreciate people when they want to serve, and especially a 4-year term. And 4 years is a long commitment, so appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion or question, please?
I echo Councilman Smith's sentiment.
Thank you. Anything else, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Wallace?
Aye.
Councilman Urschel?
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach?
Aye.
Councilman Smith?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
President Engel?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next item is also an administrative motion approving the 2019 Heritage Tree nominations. That is my item. And in this item, there are a number of heritage trees nominated, 3 specifically: a Dawn Redwood at 551 Marshall Drive, an American Sweet Gum at 386 North Galloway Street, and the third is an American Elm at 982 East Market Street. In 2011, the Board for Recreation, Arts, and Cultural Activities Tree Committee developed the Heritage Tree Program, which was approved by City Council in 2011 to recognize, honor, and foster appreciation of trees on public or private property for their unique history, shape, size, beauty, and species that have cultural, historical, and aesthetic value. Since that time, 33 nominations for heritage trees have been approved. Plaques denoting pertinent information have been installed near each tree or grove of trees. And for 2019, the nominations are as I described. Those trees are quite old in some case. The Dawn Redwood is 50 years old. The American Sweet Gum is 144 years old. And the American Elm is the king at 204 years old by best estimation. I would like to publicly thank the BRCA committee, and in particular the tree committee within BRCA, for running this program and making this nomination, and I would move for approval of those 3 trees as heritage trees within Xenia. And I ask for a second, please.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Lauterbach. Discussion or question on the motion, please. Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Wallace?
Aye.
Councilman Urschel?
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach?
Aye.
Councilman Smith?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
President Engel?
Aye.
Motion carried.
And I have one additional item to add before our usual closing administrative motion. I have an administrative motion that was just provided to me this evening on the same idea as the mayor's. The Civil Service Commission has also been short members, and we have recently received a nomination for one of those positions. The Civil Service Commission has been operating with only 3 members for over a year versus their 5 members per the city charter. City Clerk has advertised the vacancies on the city's website, government channel, and via other media outlets. Ms. Melody Anderson contacted the City Clerk to express her interest in being appointed to the commission. Ms. Anderson is the business manager at the Miami Valley Juvenile Rehabilitation Center in Xenia and will be a welcome addition to the commission. Since there is a background check on file with Greene County, a background check was not conducted by the city of Xenia. So at this time, I would recommend and make motion to approve Ms. Melody Anderson to fill the vacancy on the Civil Service Commission with a term expiration date of December 31st, 2023. And I will seek a second, please.
Second.
Seconded by the Vice President. Discussion or question on the motion, please. Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Wallace?
Aye.
Councilman Urschel?
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach?
Aye.
Councilman Smith?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor May?
Aye.
President Engel?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you, and thank you to the city clerk for processing this so quickly so that we can get our boards and commissions up to full strength to alleviate some of the problems that have been described by all of us, and certainly where we've taken action this evening to ensure that our boards and commissions are able to act. Final item on the agenda for this evening is administrative motion approving the schedule of bills in the amount of, and a revised amount from in your printed agenda, $137,597.25 based on a refund provided to the city for one of the expenses. May I have a motion for approval, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Lauterbach and seconded by the mayor. Any discussion or question on our bills this evening, please?
Let's make them.
Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Wallace?
Aye.
Councilman Urschel?
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach?
Aye.
Councilman Smith?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor May?
Aye.
President Engel?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. This time we have an opportunity for reports of committees. The first is the Board for Recreation, Arts, and Cultural Activities, chaired by me. Part of the report I was going to deliver this evening, we have already moved by administrative motion regarding the heritage trees, and again, congratulate the tree committee for their diligence on this work, as well as beautifying the city through any number of their work with the flower beds and such. Other items regarding note, we've completed the youth basketball program again this year very successfully, so thank you very much to all involved with that. The most upcoming and pressing item would be the upcoming Easter egg hunt, which is not this Saturday, but next Saturday, the 20th of April, day before Easter. We are still looking for individuals who may wish to volunteer for that event, as well as soliciting baskets for the basket auction, where we typically hand out somewhere between 50 and 100 baskets to children from Xenia who come and participate. Those are the main items for BRCA. There will be more information forthcoming in future months on our upcoming Hometown Christmas and other programs. Any questions?
Do you want to mention the time of the event?
What time is it? Sorry. I don't have my notes
The
in front
Easter
of me.
egg hunt begins at 11 a.m. The registration, if you want to put your name in the drawing for a basket, begins at 10 a.m. The Easter Bunny will be there. Parents are welcome to come, bring your kids for free pictures with the Easter Bunny, and there'll be music. There's several churches that are coming out to cook hamburgers, hot dogs, popcorn, drinks. I've heard rumors of face painting. I don't know if that's confirmed, but there's a lot of fun things happening. It's all free. The churches partner with BRCA, the Xenia Area Association of Churches and Ministries, to help pay for the event. It's a lot of fun, and at 11 o'clock we'll do 5 different Easter egg hunts. There'll be staggered starts. There's one for children with special needs, and then there'll be a 0 to approximately 2, 2 to 4, and then 5 to 8-year-olds and 9 to 12-year-olds. We will stagger those, so parents, if you have children with in different hunts, you can go to each one at a time. So we invite you to come, and as the council president said, I'm going to put the pressure on the council members to please consider donating a basket for the kids. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for Brackett, please?
I'd just like to say that, you know, there's a few times in our community when we come together as a community, and as I came to Xenia 34 years ago, just kind of observing that, you know, Halloween, everybody gets out on the street, and it's actually it's a community event. When we have the fall festival, we come out, right? When we have the first Fridays and the fireworks. And I'll tell you, this Easter egg hunt with the kids is one of those, and it's just remarkable how many folks are actually come out from our community. We're doing something together and enjoying it as families. So even if you don't have kids that are in that age group, I would just encourage you to come and just enjoy being with our community at that time. It's a pleasant time. It's amazing to see these kids pick up, I don't know how many eggs we're gonna have.
I think around 10,000.
10,000 eggs. They can pick up 10,000 eggs in about 5 minutes. It's just amazing to see them pull that off. And not one kid leaves the park until that last raffle basket is done, because every kid is waiting to see if they can get that basket raffled off there. So.
I will add that we have somebody who has decided this year they're going to donate several bicycles as a grand prize. So that was a really neat partnership where somebody came forward and said, we want to make this even better, and we want to give some bikes for the kids. So we're super excited about that.
Thank you. Any other comments, please? Seeing none, we'll move on to Traffic Commission. The April meeting was canceled. Anything to add, Councilman Dean?
No, not really.
Okay, anything for the Traffic Commission, please? Planning and Zoning Commission, Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. Reporting on 2 meetings. Our March meeting was actually March 21st, 2019. At that meeting, item PZC 2019-4, which was an alternative equivalent review. This was for a facade design alternative, and that was filed by Russ White on behalf of Aldi Foods, and that item did pass. That was the only item on that meeting. The next meeting was April 4th, just last Thursday. 2 items on that agenda. First one was a public hearing, which was to allow Greene County Parks and Trails to build a maintenance facility and administrative office at 641 Dayton Xenia Road. That was a 26,586,000 square foot building with design modifications. That application was filed by Brentwood Builders, and that conditionally passed 3-0. And the next item was the alternative equivalent review for that same building, and that also passed 3-0. And according to our city planner, we are having a meeting May 2nd at 6 o'clock.
Thank you. Anything for Planning and Zoning, please? Board of Zoning Appeals, Mayor Mays.
Thank you, sir. We met March 25th and just heard one item. We heard from, there was a variance request from Hammond Dry Right. They had filed a request regarding the enclosing and screening of outdoor material storage, and that was approved.
Thank you. Anything for BZA and the mayor, please? Seeing none, we'll move to appointed official reports and council comments. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to apologize. Might be a little long-winded here. A number of things I wanted to mention tonight. But I wanted to start, typically don't respond to all his comments, but I appreciate that both Mr. Kalpa and Mr. Johnson are still here. So there are a few things that I thought would be worthy of giving some response to. And I want to say at the outset that yeah, I'm probably not, John's probably not my biggest fan, but I appreciate the fact that he's here and engaging. You know, a lot of folks sit out there and they complain, but they're here and they're bringing thoughts and ideas, and I think that's noteworthy. So I appreciate that. And we may not necessarily all agree on exactly how we attack these issues, but it starts with dialogue. So, but just response to a couple of things that was said, because I think it fits into the bigger picture, and it's in our audience at home. It's worth them hearing. So there's some discussion about the parks worker and some of the issues we've had in filling that position, and we of course discussed that with council previously. The challenge with that position, bearing in mind that, again, as I mentioned earlier, we used to have 2. In fact, at one point we had 4 parks workers. It was reduced to 2, and then now down to 1 in the attempt to try to keep us solvent with our budget over the years. That position used to be a maintenance worker, and so a number of years ago we instituted a change in our policy, and we brought on these labor positions in an attempt to save the city some money, provide for a promotional opportunity once those laborers prove their mettle. There's an opportunity for a maintenance worker promotion. For a number of years, we had a really, really good parks worker. And John passed away of cancer here a couple years ago, and we've really miss him. And our most recent parks worker was promoted to a maintenance worker through that promotional process. The biggest issue with this parks position is the schedule. It's just been tough to find folks who want to work every weekend all through the spring, summer, and fall. And you know, it's for a lot of folks, it's a good wage with good benefits, but with the younger generations, we see more and more that time off and time with family is more important necessarily than pay, or at least equally important. So it's a factor that we have to take into consideration. There's another thought that was mentioned about maybe making some changes to the position. So these positions are classified civil service positions. In the state of Ohio, by Ohio law, we have to have a civil service system. And we have to either utilize the states or we have to adopt our own. And here in Xenia, we have our own civil service system. And Mr. Kelp's right, it's old. I mean, this thing has not been substantively changed in many decades. I think it was the 60s maybe the last time it was changed. But because of the structure of our charter, we can't go in and just make the changes to the civil service system. Upon review with our law director, we've got to go back through the charter process and make some changes to the language regarding our civil service procedures. That's part of the reason that we have encouraged council to get a charter review process launched this year, a new commission to start to review the charter. And this is one of the principal reasons, so we can look at the civil service issue, because we've got to update these rules. When these rules were first adopted, the world was a very different place, and the nature of employment was very different. So again, you know, a great idea. We're pursuing that, but there is a process, and we have to uphold the standard based on the state, and then at the local level with the charter. And you know, there are some statements about, you know, making some management decisions in terms of how you fill this, and you know, I think it's important to recognize that we can't, with our current contract, schedules are outlined in the contracts. We can't make unilateral changes to schedules without negotiating. However, there are some other provisions that do allow us to unilaterally assign individuals to positions. And so our staff did take that step, and we've assigned someone to this position because we offered it to everyone on the list, the civil service list for the position, and they all declined it. And the response we got every time was they didn't want the schedule. So our thought in increasing the position back to maintenance work and increasing the pay was to provide some type of additional measure, because we'd already looked at everything else that we could think of in terms of trying to get a qualified candidate in. And I also want to stress, this is a position that we don't want a warm body in. There's no maintenance worker position or labor position that is more visible to the public than this position. They're working with the public every day. They're working around kids in parks. They're working around family events with the special reservations and so forth. So we don't want just a warm body. We want someone who's going to epitomize customer service, who's going to be safe and friendly with the folks that they're serving. So are we a little more judicious with this position? Yeah, because we feel that we need to be. They're not out, twisting water main. They're in the parks where our people are, and they're there on a daily basis and the weekends all through the course of the year. So we want the right candidate, not just a warm body. We would welcome ideas on how we get the word out better about position notifications. We put it on Facebook, we put it on Twitter, we put it on our website, we put them in the newspaper. There are certain procedures we have to follow based on civil service, but we put it on these other digital mediums as well. We're open to ideas. Our candidate pools continue to dwindle. You can speculate as to why. There's a lot of reasons that may be the case, but the bottom line is, among most of our ranks, firefighters, police officers, civil maintenance workers, most civil service positions, as well as our non-union, the numbers of applications we see are down. A lot of that has to do with the fact that it is it's an employees labor market. There are labor shortages in many industries across the country, and certainly right here in the Miami Valley. So it's just a much more competitive environment. So we're open to those ideas. And again, just, there are a lot of standards that we have to meet in procedures sort of behind the scenes. So I do appreciate actually the opportunity to kind of discuss this. There were some comments too about our financial situation and revenues, and year to date, and we just got the finance director's monthly update. We're up about 2% in revenues, not where we want to be, not where we need to be, but we're up, not down. Expenditures are down for the year compared to the year last year at this point. So the numbers are moving in the right direction, but we need to see more movement, and that includes taking necessary steps to try to encourage expansion in our tax base here locally, and this council's made it very clear they have expectations, and we're working hard to try to do that. And it was also mentioned that other communities are meeting their infrastructure needs, and I actually don't agree with that. I think as evidence to that, the governor, a conservative governor, just convinced a conservative legislature to increase our gas tax substantially, and it's because the revenue system for that's broken, and at the state, county, municipal level across the state, our roads are in bad shape. This is not solely a Xenia issue, and I get that's most relevant to people living here. but you don't have to travel 5 minutes in any direction to see the scope and nature of the problem. So this is a statewide issue, and certainly we've got to come up with a plan, and we have been discussing with council where we go. We haven't brought anything back prime time, but in our Budget and Finance Subcommittee, Councilman Lauterbach, Councilman Urschel, and the council president, we've had in-depth discussion about what is the total cost, how do we attack this, where do we go from here? If voters don't want to improve and increase, where do we go to bring more revenues? And we've done a good job, as evidenced by tonight. We've got a major project on 2nd Street, leveraging all kinds of grant dollars, and we're still doing another $300 and some thousand in improvements this year. So kudos to our engineering staff for what they're doing, and we got a long way to go to figure this out. This poor council is stuck with a problem that has been accumulating over decades, and I don't think anybody envies them for that. Just a couple more thoughts. I can be long-winded and go all night, but I, again, just enjoy the opportunity to sort of have some of the dialogue on these things. Just a minor issue that Mr. Johnson mentioned, the coal patches. We agree that coal patches aren't effective long-term. That's why council approved some new technology, new piece of equipment with the hot box that we'll be able to use. Hot fill should provide better solutions for a lot of these pothole issues, and crews will be out here the next couple of weeks once we have that equipment in-house, and we can be using it to hopefully get some better solutions. But hey, we recognize it's a huge problem. It's going to take a long-term solution. If it was easy, we would have already fixed it. Our predecessors would have fixed it. But it's a very complex issue. So just some thoughts on some of the different points that were raised, because I think it's good to have the dialogue, good to understand the full nature of these problems, and to that point, having that dialogue and understanding how we work in the full nature of our operations is exactly why we have launched our initiative with our Citizens Academy. And so we're pleased to announce tonight that we are ready to launch the second class of our Citizens Academy. We are currently taking applications for that. Information is available online. We've modified it this year based on the feedback from the folks who participated last year. So we are actually expanding it. So this will be 6 sessions. We're going to try to get them all done within about a little over a month. So there'll be a couple weeks where there are 2 sessions. We heard that it was better to have more intense over a shorter period of time, and these will be 2-hour sessions rather than an hour and a half. What we heard from the first group was there was great information. They didn't have enough time to get into all the issues they wanted to discuss. This time around, we're extending to 6 sessions instead of the 5 we did previously. So we're going to cover basic municipal government and our structure, how our charter operates. We're going to talk about municipal finance. Where does the money come from? How can it be used? When you see the city has a $60 million budget, does that mean we're really spending $60 million, and on what? We're going to talk about planning and zoning functions and our development. What are we doing related to economic development strategy and so forth. And then we'll do some more hands-on practical 3 sessions where we will do hands-on with fire and EMS, police and dispatch, and then 1 with public service where we'll actually take a tour of the plants. So that, again, will start in May. Applications are being accepted. We give priority to Xenia residents, but you don't necessarily have to be. And so we encourage folks to come out and participate. We want good questions and good dialogue. We're doing this because we want transparency. So we encourage folks to apply. I mentioned 2nd Street. Just want to let folks know that they have been doing base repairs. I know there was some scuttlebutt out there. Well, see, they're not repaving the whole thing. And that's not the case. There's a process here. You've got to do the base repair first. In the next few days, they will put what's called a leveling course, which will bring the entire pavement to a more even level. They will probably take a break because the same firm that is doing our 2nd Street project also has the county bid, and they're going to start on the county-wide projects. You'll even see some of our local projects getting started during that period. And then they'll be back later this summer to do the final travel course, as well as the concrete work that's being done. So you'll see a pretty good driving surface within the next week to week and a half, but the final course won't be till later this summer. And again, because these are state grant dollars under provisions with the state, they do have till October to get the whole thing finished, but I think you'll see it finished before then. So please be patient with that project. It's much overdue. It's already an improvement. If you've driven, some of the worst areas are already improved, so bear with us there. Finally, and then I'll shut up. The Public Service Department, a number of our employees from that union volunteered their time a couple of weeks ago, and I just want to lift them up. They recognized that it was important for them to give back to our community, so we had a number of their employees that came out on a pretty crappy Saturday a couple of weeks ago. And I'm looking for the names, for the guys by name, and I'm not seeing it here in my stack of papers, but I just want to give them credit. I appreciate that they are taking efforts to step up and give back to our community. They're planning some additional events like this through the course of the year where they can come out and give of their skill and their time and their labor and give back, and I just want to give them some kudos. They don't get the credit they deserve, and they do a lot of hard work under a lot of dangerous conditions. We appreciate them, and I just want to say thank you to them. And with that, I'll shut up.
Thank you very much. Anything for our city manager this evening, please?
I have one question for him that has to do with First Friday. When do the invitations go out on vendors that have been participating in First Friday previous years? Because we are interested and we have not received anything.
Okay.
Will be May is.
Yeah, I don't think I can answer that off the top of my head because the core administration of that is through a volunteer group. I happen to have a meeting tomorrow with Blair Davis, who's one of the key coordinators, and I will ask her tomorrow, and I can send an update to all of you so that you guys can help spread that word, but well, we can definitely find out for you.
Thank you, sir.
If they haven't gone out now, it should be very, very soon because we're already approaching the dates.
I actually got one in the mail, so things have gone out.
Since Monday?
Yes.
Because I was told in a meeting Monday that they had not, so.
Yeah, I got something just recently.
Great.
I'll still double check and see if they're on the list.
Thank you. Anything else for our city manager, please? Mr. Finance Director.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to remind everyone that this coming Monday is actually the tax filing deadline. So if you've not already filed your return, make sure you get that in by Monday. If you need help filing your return, city staff can certainly help you to do that. Understand that the lines may be a little longer the next couple of days than what they may have been, say, a couple of weeks ago, but our staff does a great job of getting people through the line and doing their very best to provide a high level of service to people. So make your way here to the admin building and we'll assist you in getting that tax return prepared. And yeah, Monday, April 15th.
Thank you very much. Anything for our Finance Director, please? Thank you. We will move to council comments. Madam Mayor.
That's me, isn't it? Forgive me. All right. Thank you. Let's see. On Friday, March 29th, I attended the Clark State Advisory Board meeting. And they gave an update with where they're at, with specifically talked about their Xenia campus. And I just want to make sure people understand that they have an entire gen ed program transfer degree that they offer here in Xenia now. So you can do your gen ed classes before transferring to a 4-year degree, and that's with the child care at the YMCA. It's free for 2 hours and then $1 for the additional hours per child. So it's a great win. I've been spreading the word to some of our high school seniors as well that they could do that here in Xenia. On that same day, I also attended the swearing in of Craig Hagler, our new Greene County Treasurer, and wanted to congratulate him on that position. On Tuesday, April 2nd, Anthony Barwick invited some of us out to the CXU Extension office. Gave us an information session, and the amount of things that they do with the Extension office it's a lot. It was a lot to take in. So we are going to be doing some follow-up meetings so I can actually give you back some of that information, because it was just kind of a big round picture of agriculture. They do classes with people with diabetes. They do 4-H work. It was just, there's so much that they do. And so we're going to be working to unpack some of that little by little, and I can bring that back to council. On Thursday, April 4th, it was very exciting to be able to kick off the Antioch Shriner Circus here in Greene County for the very first time. Got to take my kids out there. We had a wonderful time. I wanted to thank them for coming. On Sunday, April 7th, I had the honor of singing the national anthem at the marathon, and that was a great turnout, and I heard some great feedback as people, after I sang and the marathon got started, I went over to a friend's house around mile marker 5 to cheer some friends on, and even as people were running by, they were commenting how much they were enjoying running through the city, so very pleased with that. On Wednesday, the 10th, just yesterday, I, with many of our city staff, participated in the Frisch's Big Boy ribbon cutting for their grand reopening. The staff at Frisch's was very gracious in inviting our police department, fire department, city staff out. They fed us, and we just had a great time. They just did a really nice job. on today. Anna Allison, she did some work at the Coffee Hub with some children with the art classes and even worked with my kids. And I just wanted to specifically call her out. She's a local artist and designer, and she does some amazing work. If you go to company.com, her designs are beautiful. And Anna is regularly at the Coffee Hub, and I'm proud to know her and to own some of her work, and just wanted to thank her for working with the kids this morning. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Lauterbach.
Thank you. I'm almost afraid to bring this up, but we have a renewal coming up, don't we?
We do.
That would be May,
A seven, is it seven?
That was the 5th.
and that's no new taxes.
Correct.
No new taxes, and what's that mean to our 400 and some thousand?
Yeah, just over $400,000 annually.
But it's very important that we get this thing passed.
Those are revenues that go directly toward fire, police, parks, streets. I mean, those are critical core services that revenue helps to support. Levy's been in place since 52.
Since the 50s, I don't know the
something like
exact year.
that. So, locked at that amount since the 70s. But again, in our budget, it's a meaningful amount of money and goes directly towards service delivery.
Thank you.
Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to thank everyone that's watching and that's here in the audience tonight. I know our community has a lot of challenges, but I also believe we have a lot of positive things in our community. Example of that tonight was Jacob Fox, who's giving his time. Our maintenance workers who are giving their time. People that are giving their time a week from Saturday at Shawnee Park for the community egg hunt. Not only does the city, but the churches get involved in that. I think it's a great thing. We have Hamvention, we have the REACH project. Xenia has turned around 10 years ago when I came on council, and Councilman Lauterbach will attest to that. I mean, there was pay freeze. There was some bad times. People were laid off. Not that things are perfect, but things are moving better in the right direction. And I'd like to thank our city manager for a lot of that. This guy works really hard for us, as well as the rest of you. Our mayor, I don't know how you manage your time. You are invited to so many events, and as Marcia Bayless was very active, and I appreciate your attendance at events. And we do it because we like our community. We aren't paid very much, and it's easy to get wrapped up on the negativity on Facebook, but it's not accurate out there, and it's easy to get on Facebook and bash the city. Because it's just an easy thing to do. But my recommendation is get off Facebook, spend some time outside, spend time with your family. I don't get on it much because I don't see the point in it. Most of the information out there is just redundant. But anyway, again, thanks to the rest of you guys for being positive, and I look forward to moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Herschel.
Yeah, a couple items. So I've been on this council 3 months now, and I just want to let you know I'm taking the road issue very seriously. If you come by my house any morning between 3 and 6, you'll probably find me studying technical journals and technical reports on asphalt paving. What is the base? What is the surface? What does this have to do with stormwater drainage and removal? And what are other cities doing? What are other nations doing at this point? Spent some time on Facebook as well, and I've stopped that because I haven't seen any solutions there. I've seen an awful lot of complaining, but very little anybody else is actually offering any productive solutions within the context of that. I'll tell you a few things I've learned, and I've got a lot more to learn at this point. And I'll say I spent a lot of time with the city engineer and with Brent and with the finance director trying to understand the context of this. We've got ourselves in a hole with our streets that we dug for 40 years, okay? And I get the whole rationale of how we got here. And I'll tell you, anytime you see a pothole, that's not just, is it cold or hot fix? The pothole is telling you have substantial degradation of the base of that road. And I don't care what you're gonna do on the surface of that, you've destroyed the base of the road at that point. And so, whether somebody's putting a hot fix or a cold fix, that's irrelevant, because it's a symptom of something much more problematic than that top fix there. And all I'd say is, the solution to this isn't gonna be in a couple of years either, okay? It took us decades to get here, and it's gonna take us decades to get out. My biggest concern is that we're laying out a strategy that we can with confidence come back to our community and say, yeah, we do have a plan, and we believe that we actually can achieve this, and even though it may take decades, that it's gonna be a plan that will allow us, that it may be 20 years, but there will be a point where we won't continue to see continual degradation of the roads. And I heard somebody say too, hey, you know, go to another community, and this is not you, Brent, but some other folks I've heard have said, well, everybody's got problems. And you know what, I don't buy that. I mean, everybody's got problems, but I don't want us just to say in Xenia, okay, well, we're just like everybody else. Okay, well, we ought to be better, right? I mean, I don't think we ought to just accept the fact that everybody's roads have problems, and everybody, and I'll tell you, we're not alone in this. As I looked at the other cities, not only in Ohio, but the rest of the nation, there are hundreds of municipalities around that have dug this hole for themselves that they're desperately trying to find their way out of. And but I do believe that there are some good solutions to this. It's not going to be one-time fix 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. We're going to have to get to the point where we understand the actual structure of our roads right now, and employ some flavor of a pavement management strategy and system that's going to allow us to do some forecasting. I'll also tell you too that a lot of this work is going to have to do with the stormwater removal, because as Brent had mentioned, water is the #1 issue on the destruction of roads. And if we can't remove the water from our roads, it doesn't matter how often we pave it, we're just throwing money away at that point. So this is going to have to be in tandem with the investment in stormwater removal, which is also an issue. And I think it's going to be a substantial cost too, because I'll just tell you to do what we're doing on 2nd Street here, and once again drive down that, and all of those spots that you see where they've done the work right now, that said basically the base of the road was destroyed, okay? And what has happened right now is they've gone up and down that street, and that 6-inch base has been removed and replaced. And what we do, so you know, part of what we're going to have to do in the future is be very proactive in the maintenance of the roads that we are repaving and doing, and going after those. So a lot of what you're going to see in the future isn't just new asphalt, clean surfaces. It's going to be a lot of maintenance and repair of the existing roads, and there's about 6 different flavors of ways you do that, and we need to have a very structured strategy on going forward with that. So once again, I don't think that this is something that's not recoverable. I think we are going to have to take a hard look at how we're spending funds right now, but we're not going to be able to tax our way out of this problem, and no municipality is going to do that. So I think part of what we're going to have to do this year is take a hard look at some of the services we are providing, and if there's smarter, more efficient ways or alternate ways of providing those services, and that's all going to be part of this strategy. As I just appreciate you guys letting me be part of the budget planning committee. You know, we can't. I don't think we can wait for the state to bail us out either. I understand the context of the local government funds, and the sad thing is the state, to a large extent, has removed a lot of funds that to solve their problems, and they've caused us problems within that context too. So we're. I will say that you know, I'm a very ignorant person in many of these things. I don't plan to stay ignorant, but as I've been going and speaking with the city engineer and with Brent and with Ryan and the rest of the staff there, they've been very gracious to spend a lot of time with me personally to help me understand what's going on here. And my hope is that towards the tail end of this year, we're going to be in a position to come forward and say this is a strategy. We understand why we endorse that. I'll tell you, I think that's something we're going to have to own as the council within the context. This isn't the city manager's problem. This isn't the city engineer's problem. This isn't the city finance director's problem. This is our problem as a city council. I'm hoping that a lot of this information that I'm putting together and gathering the wisdom, that there's gonna be a point where we're gonna share this with the rest of the council. And we're gonna have to make some tough decisions at that point. I really believe that infrastructure is one of the key things that we're supposed to be providing as a municipality. Nobody else is gonna do that besides us. We're City of Xenia. Nobody's gonna take care of our roads and our wastewater removal except us. And that's one of those core things we're gonna have to do. And we may have to look at different ways of funding things and different ways of doing strategy. But anyways, I just wanna let you know, I'm very happy to be involved in doing that. That was one of the things I did for the Air Force. They brought me in a lot of different projects, and so I got some background doing these kind of things. I'm really happy to be able to offer this to the city. I'm not going back out on Facebook and giving intermediate explanations or things I found. I'll just tell you that for whatever reason within this community, there seems to be a fair game on anybody who's in the city environment to take shots and disparage them for some reason. I don't understand that. I don't understand during the election, after having 34 years of giving my life to the United States Air Force and decades of spending 200+ days a year away from my family, that I had people taking shots at me at the city only because I was running for office at that point. And so that pretty much taught me, so I'm not gonna comment on Facebook about any of this stuff, but I'm gonna get smart on this. I'm gonna spend a lot of time with this council and with the city government, and I'm not gonna let this go till it's taken care of, okay? But I'm staying off of social media, and all I would say is there are a number of folks out there that are allowing by your actions that the social media be extremely negative in this city. I don't get it. It's not that way in the other municipalities around here. As a matter of fact, the folks I know that work in the other municipalities or that live in the other municipalities are just kind of, they can't believe when they get on different websites and those or Facebook pages what goes on in the city. Okay, so I'm done with that. I'm going to work really hard for the city and for the people here, but I'm not playing around with social media anymore. I'm going to actually try and get some things done. So. And I'm hoping that when we have some practical things that we can actually work on within that context, we'll bring them forward. All I'd offer is if you go on the city web page, okay, my personal cell phone number is there, my email address is there. If you believe you have something constructive to add to this conversation, I will meet with you at any time and have those discussions. And I am wide open to do that, and I'll make the time to do that, okay? And I'm going to tell you, you're going to meet me pretty early in the morning because I only sleep about 4 hours a night, but I'll be there, okay? But I'm tired of folks just disparaging things that are going on. It's not helpful, it's rude, and it's not helping our city go forward. And so just a little bit of observations, being on board for 3 months at this point. And second thing, so I'm going to flip hats here just a little bit. I have my first thing that I got to talk about. I'll tell you something else that I'm extremely excited about with Steve. So let me finish the first thing. We're going to resolve this paving thing. We're going to resolve the roads, okay? Let me tell you, I've done rocket science before. This is not rocket science, okay? And after having been part of the folks that took on the Cold War and addressed that and dealt with that, we can fix this thing in Xenia, okay? So that's going to happen. But I'll tell you something else with all the economic issues and financial issues and all those kind of things that are going on in our city. One amazing thing we have in our city is our community faith here, okay? And so part of my life I got to live as the technical director for a material command, overseeing all the weapon systems in the Air Force and their development. But the other part of my life I got to live is being a pastor in this city. And something is happening in our city right now where we have 80 churches in our city, and we have 30 parachurch organizations that operate in Xenia. And my observation has been for the last 30 years, those entities have operated pretty much independent of each other. And something's happening this year where the pastors of the different churches are saying, hey, let's come together and serve our communities together. And the parachurch groups are saying, let's come on board and do that. And I'm not here to recruit anybody for that, but I'll tell you the week after Easter our churches in our city and our parachurch groups are gonna have an opportunity to get out on the street every day and look for ways to start serving our people in our community instead of just expecting to be served in that context. And I am thrilled about that and the response we've been getting from the folks in our city so far. And I'll tell you, this is gonna make a radical change within the context of our city. So let me just tell you, I'm excited to be here serving, and I'm still gonna get up at 3 o'clock every morning and get as smart as I can on this stuff and keep working. Like I tell the folks that I used to work with in the Air Force, I'm only dangerous when I'm ignorant. So please help me not be ignorant. If you believe you got the silver bullet or a brass bullet or a copper bullet on this road thing, and you'd like a council member to talk about it, you tell me where to meet you. I'll be there. Let's get down and talk about this stuff. And for those of you that are part of the faith community, get out with us the week after Easter, participate with us, and be part of the broader body of the faith community here in our city. And that's going to be an amazing week as well too. So I'm done with my time.
Councilman Dean.
I have nothing further to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vice President.
I have one question for, I guess it's you, Ryan, and that is, what will the 11% gas tax, 11-cent gas tax do for Xenia? Have you computed that yet?
Yeah, so ODOT has released what they estimate the impact to be to each community. I think in 2020, that's estimate somewhere around 537,000. And then in 2021, I think it goes up closer to 550. So somewhere in that neighborhood annually is the additional revenue that we should receive.
I think it's 533, something like that. And Ryan and I had talked about this on Tuesday, and I think he and I agreed that we probably need to come back to the Budget and Finance Subcommittee in fairly short order and kind of talk about the implications with this, have an initial discussion there, and then round out that discussion with the rest of council moving forward here this spring. Talk about, because we're already in the process of working toward a tax budget for 2020, 5-year CIP. So this is a little bit of a change in the narrative, and so I think we want some instruction from council. So we coming back with some discussion on that, on those gas tax proceeds.
From local government, I'm sorry.
No, go
on. Local government funds, 1%.
Yeah, it's just there was a slight increase, nothing substantial, but it will increase slightly for the next 2020.
Having said that, kudos to this governor for not actually cutting them. So it wasn't.
I mean, we lost about what, 600,000.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, just in local government fund, and then there were other, estate taxes and other things on top of that we lost as well. But just in the local government fund, about 600,000.
So that'll mean a $60,000 plus, maybe.
Not 60. It would be like 6,000, something like that. Yeah, it's not. It's not going to be a significant increase in revenue.
Maybe we can get them to go up to 10%. Do you think?
That would be terrific, but no, I haven't seen specifics. The county auditor typically sends us a letter certifying what he believes we'll receive. I haven't seen any updated information, but it'll be an uptick, but nothing that's going to substantially impact the city's budget.
But the good news is, with the 533,000, whatever, and what we've already committed and continue to commit each year with the 500,000+, and then plus what we can muster up on grants and other sources, that means that we'll have $1 million+ in 2020 and beyond to work on our roads and infrastructure.
Yeah, it's important to I think as Councilman Urschel sort of pointed out, this will help, but
it's not going to resolve.
No, it doesn't solve the problem, but
we should be spending 2 to 3 times that a year to begin catching up over a reasonable period of time. So that's where we really do need that comprehensive solution.
Very good. That's it for me.
Thank you. I have just a few items this evening. We're running quite long, so I'll try to make it a little bit brief. Xenia High School players will be performing Footloose. I believe it actually happened tonight, but will be also happening tomorrow night, Saturday as a matinee and Saturday evening, and then Sunday performances again of Footloose at their auditorium. Please come and enjoy the performance by our local students. Councilman Smith, the city manager, and I met in an informal meeting with a couple of members of the school board and the superintendent of the school board to discuss ways in which we as two independent government bodies can do more together, can partner with one another, can cooperate and support one another. The outcomes of the meeting, nothing incredibly substantive at this point, but it is very positive discussion that these two groups are going to continue meeting on a fairly regular basis to explore these areas where we can cooperate. And I think that's a very positive sign for us as a city, for them as a school board, and for the community, which we're both attempting to serve. We'll see better rather than status quo. I would echo some of both Councilman Smith as well as Councilman Urschel's comments. I have nothing but the deepest respect for our city manager, our staff, our appointed officials, and our employees. They are working, as is demonstrated by some of the things the city manager reminded us of tonight, and the things that you've seen across this council in terms of procurement items, execution items, those sorts of things that are attempting to get at these hard problems in the most cost-effective way possible for the citizens. I stand in awe of the dedication that they do that. And equally, I am in awe of their positivity that they maintain throughout the entirety of this process. Their can-do attitude every day, despite the magnitude of problems that face us, as well as sometimes the incredible voices of negativity in our community. If I had a hat, my hat would be off to you to address those. And I would again share Councilman Urschel's point of view. Other than a very few things on Facebook that have nothing to do with that kind of negativity, I am not on that platform any longer for the same reasons as Councilman Urschel described. And I would suggest to you that persistent negativity never solved anything. It is a poisonous attitude that puts you into a spiral that only causes you to be more negative. So again, I applaud our city staff, our appointed officials, for maintaining that positive attitude every day and for working hard, essentially for every citizen here in the city. So thank you very much. And then finally, I would add my most sincere condolences to a former councilman, former vice president, Joshua Long. Year and a half ago, he lost his father, and just this past week, his mother passed away as well. I consider Josh to be a friend and know from personal experience from over 10 years ago now what it's like to lose your mom. So I would just add I already shared with him mine and my family's private condolences and share it publicly now, just from the city council to him and to his family. I have nothing further to add. Would someone care to make a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Latterback, seconded by the Vice President. Roll call, please.
Vice President Wallace?
Aye.
Councilman Urschel?
Aye.
Councilman Latterback?
Aye.
Councilman Smith?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
President Engel?
Aye.
Motion carried.